Don't forget to check out and grab your copy of our 2 newly released books, Football: A Love Story and What Did Football Teach Me? These books feature over 100 stories from current and former coaches, players, executives, and entertainers from across the football landscape, describing what got them involved in the game, what they love about it, and what life lessons the game taught them. You can find your copy or order your copy from our website at footballgameplan.com/books. Before we get to the report, if you like our style of video and analysis, feel free to show support for Football Game Plan by dropping by our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan and leaving a little something in the tip jar. Every little bit helps us as we continue to improve the quality of our videos and the coverage we enjoy bringing you guys each and every time we put out a project. Thank you again for your support. Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, here with our football game plan analyst, Tavon Davenport, and we're at the 2016 Temple Owls Pro Day. We're not usually associating pro prospects with this Temple Owls football program, but over the last 2 seasons, they've significantly improved themselves over the last 2 years. Next year, they're going to have even more pro prospects as well. P.J. Walker, the quarterback, will be one of them. Yeah. But today, we had some outstanding defensive prospects. But we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball and looking at Kyle Friend, the center. You know, I'm a big fan of the center play and what he was able to do throughout his career. What did he show you today from a workout standpoint?
Well, I think one of the things that really impressed me, and you don't really look at a 40 time for a lineman, but I just like the way that he was able to run that 41 reps on the bench. So the guy definitely showed that he has the strength to handle the interior pass rush, you know. So I think from a workout standpoint, I just like the way that he was able to be balanced in his 40. And you know, seeing him without his pads on, you get to really see a guy's build, and you can really understand, because if you remember, I said, hey, I didn't know he was under 300 pounds. And normally, you know, your centers, rather, they're in the 300 range, but you got to see his build, and you got to see how he could be a lighter guy but still be as strong as he is. So that's really what I took from Kyle Friend.
Yeah, he's one of my top prospects of the offensive line, period, regardless of position. He's my #1 center. You look at outside on the flanks, Brandon Shippen, the receiver here, also was able to impress with his workout and also how he caught the football.
Yeah, at the end, afterwards, you know, they had Robbie Anderson out here, and I like the way that he was able to track the football. You know, we have a low ceiling here, as you mentioned, so the trajectory is a little bit different, but he was still able to track it running down the field. So he's a guy that stood out also. Just a couple of the receivers, you know, he and Robbie Anderson were impressive. But Shippen, you know, he's a local product out of Norristown, Pennsylvania, so definitely good to see a guy come in here and be able to represent himself well.
And normally we're talking about Robbie Anderson, but we had a little switch, you know, between Robbie Anderson and also Nate D. Smith.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about Nate D. Smith, the defensive end, but also got some work at fullback today.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. They got some fullback work. He actually looked kind of comfortable running routes, and I thought that was funny because you rarely see a defensive lineman with the ability to run routes like he did. So if they put him at the fullback position, you know, stood next to him, we did the interview. He's 5'11", and he's thick throughout, so he could definitely be someone that could really come in and clear the way for the running back and also catch the ball at the backfield.
Now, you made a point about talking about guys that have the right attitude and making this switch, like Robbie Anderson. Yes. And we're going to lead off with him. I know we're going to go in order, but you know, he also got work at defensive back, which was surprising because we both expected him coming here and catch the football as a receiver, but working on the defense side of football adds a little intrigue to it.
Oh, for sure. And he's 6'3" and 195, so the length is there. As you mentioned, the ball skills, being a receiver. I think that he has a chance to play defensive back at the next level. And you just look at what he's able to do. Just being that long, it's always harder to throw the ball over a longer corner on the sideline. Talking to him just on the side, he had mentioned Richard Sherman. Here, I didn't know that Robbie Anderson had played defensive back in 2013. He played some DB, so it's not a new position for him. They asked him to do that this morning, so it wasn't like he got to prepare for it. He said at Shrine Game they talked to him a little bit about it, but this was his first time coming out and working out. He did a pretty good job. I mean, obviously the rust is going to be there, your backpedal and transitioning and things like that, but I think that he's definitely a guy that could be a DB at the next level.
And we saw a guy like that last year in Tony Lippett out of Michigan State make that move and perform well. He's probably going to see significant time this season for the Dolphins. But looking at the defensive line, Matt Ioannidis, a guy that can play all three spots up front, anywhere from left end all the way to right end, nose, 5, whatever you want to put him. I thought he did well today. In the position drills, he looked very well.
The thing that impressed me the most about Ioannidis was that 3-cone. And the way he hugged the cone when he came out. I said, yeah, this guy he's legit. And that just really just solidified what we've seen all year. At the Senior Bowl, he did an excellent job at practice week, and then even during the game as well. So got to mention Ioannidis. He's somebody that the team is going to grab, and he's willing to play, like you mentioned, any position up front. So I think he's definitely a legit prospect for sure.
And when you got a legit defensive tackle prospect, you're also going to have a legit linebacker prospect as a byproduct. And Tyler Matakevich, again, it looked just as fluid as some defensive backs here. I thought he did well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got a smile when I mentioned Matakevich because, we all have different prospects that we really like. And it's no secret, Matakevich is one that I really like. So looking at him, he worked out with the DBs, and he moved pretty well. When they were doing the drill to kind of test the loose hips, and he surprised me. So I think Matakevich is someone that you definitely are going to see at the next level. Whatever team that gets him is going to get a guy that's pure instincts, and he came out and he impressed physically also.
And Hershey Walton, too, another defensive lineman that played well up front. He was more of the nose tackle, but a guy that can definitely come in as a sub-package type of a player at the next level and contribute. Now, we move to the secondary. We're going to talk about Tavon Young. He's the headliner. But when you look at another defensive back, Alex Wells, he played extremely well, but he showed extremely well today in front of these scouts.
Yeah, he stood out to me just from his 40 and then just watching from there. I mean, he moved well. He did a really good job of just, being a change of direction. In the W drill, he was impressive. Now, unfortunately for these guys, Tavon Young led off, so you're always going to look at it a little bit differently when you have a guy as good as that leading off. But I think he put himself on the map as far as a prospect is concerned. There's a lot of scouts here, so I'm sure that somebody saw him because he was very impressive.
You talked about that low center of gravity. He was able to get out that. Remember, I said that was the best defensive back drill that you could. You have you backpedal, you turn, transition, and break out that backpedal. You turn opposite, you turn your hips, and he did a great job just looking fluid. It was natural. Now, Tavon Young, this guy, we were at the Notre Dame game, and we talked about how him and Will Fuller had a classic confrontation matched up. Tavon Young may have won that one.
No, may have. He did.
he won that one. And so Young today just went out and proved why we think he's definitely a first-round type talent coming out of this Temple Owls program.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a first-round type talent. These corners get overlooked because of their size, but you watch this guy move, and in some of those drills, he showed exactly why. Actually, I had to tweet it. Man. I said, this is exactly why he is so good at pattern matching, because his change of direction is ridiculous. And just you pair that with his film study, and you're going to get a corner that will do what he did to a guy like Will Fuller, who is one of the better receivers in the nation. So Tavon Young, I mean, what more can you say about him? A lot of teams are interested. He told me about 5 teams. He said 3 teams are going to host him for visits. So that tells you right there that the interest is real.
And when you look at a guy like Tavon Young, people are always going to look at size. We always say size is not a skill. Right. And he is in the face of bigger receivers constantly. He's going to frustrate you. He could press you without touching you, which is a skill that a lot of defensive backs can't master. They think you got to get your hands on the guy. Nah, if I know where I am on the field and where my help is, I can press you still. And so he does a good job with that as well. So let's move on to the second half of the pro day. Not non-Temple guys, a lot of small school cats here, guys from around the area, and starting with the quarterback position. One guy in particular from East Stroudsburg, saw a lot of him last year and this past season. Matt Soltez, I thought, threw the football very well.
Yeah, he definitely threw the ball really well. I like how he was able to hit the tight end on the seam routes. He really wanted to show he had an arm. He did just that.
And who else stood out to you from the quarterback? All three did well, but I know you had a guy in mind that definitely stood out.
Liam Naylor, the Gannon quarterback. You know, he came out. I made the joke about him looking like Carson Wentz, not physically, like play-wise. We're just talking about appearance-wise. But anyhow, he threw the ball really well. You know, a nice size quarterback. I like the way he was able to connect with the receivers on the pivot routes, and then he also had really good timing throwing the deep ball as well. He's a big quarterback. I definitely want to watch some of him. I haven't seen him play, but watching him out here, he definitely was impressive.
Yeah, I know he was in the Dream Bowl down in Virginia Beach this past January, All-Star game for smaller school guys, and I heard he did well there. And the kid from Mercer, Brendan Boylan, also wanted to show that he had an arm. He was the shortest quarterback here, but we know size is not a skill. But he definitely had a live arm and showed it in the deeper routes going down the field here in indoor facility here at Temple. So he did well. You look at the running back, Terry Williams, out of Kutztown. Now, this has become a common theme for Kutztown players. I remember at the Baltimore Regional, we talked about Anthony Kelly. We'll talk about him in a second. Ran the fastest 40 time and second highest vertical. Terry Williams today, I thought, ran the fastest. He ran 4.4, low 4.4s to 4.4 flat. As a tailback, that was impressive. Yeah,
that definitely was impressive, and you could tell that he is a faster guy. We pulled up the tape, and he had the 99-yard run. Man, I tell you, he hit that outside, and it was deuces. You know, he took off. So he definitely was impressive. I would like to see him just get a little bit better at catching the football, but at the same time, he's someone that if you could get him on that corner, like on that edge, and let him use that speed, he could take it a long way for you.
And he's a compact guy, and we saw him bounce off tackles during that highlight tape. Again, we saw the 40 time. We had no clue what he did in college. We pulled up the tape right there on the phone, and we were like, wow, it validated everything we saw out here. Now, his teammate, Anthony Kelly, just built on what I saw at the Baltimore Regional, came out here today with the receiving drills, and caught the football well, 6'3", 210. He's a very underrated receiver.
First thing that jumps out about him is that size. When you pointed him out, because I wanted to know who he was, because, you know, PSAC, you know,
right.
And a fellow receiver, so I wanted to know who he was. You pointed him out, man. The first thing I said was, wow, he's big, and he ran well, 40-wise, did a good job tracking the football. Man, he almost died on the one corner, on the corner route, but just the fact that he still went for the ball, that mindset, that mentality, that's what you want to see out of a prospect in this type of situation, you know, do or die.
And he definitely did that today. Yeah, that was so funny with him. Almost died. But you're right, though. Good thing he has pads on these walls.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would smooth through. We know it's a parking lot on the side. He'd still be flying.
That's too funny.
Moving inside to the tight end position. And I thought, you know, you always clown me about the small school guys and the names and the schools. But Ryan O'Malley from Penn. Saw him twice, you know, versus Yale and also versus Villanova. And had in my notes, this is a guy, despite his numbers, because he didn't throw to the tight end a lot, but he was very productive. And you saw how he was out here today catching the football. He looks like an NFL tight end.
That's the beauty of these type of things. You're not scouting numbers, you're scouting ability. And just watching him, he actually, truth be told, caught the ball better than anybody here. Very quiet. You know, the ball just stopped when it hit his hands. He actually had a couple nice little head fakes when he ran the seam route. He was really impressive. And I think he's a guy that you could throw the ball to out of the backfield, you know, use him in an H-back type of situation, flex him, line him up out wide. He's definitely, the size is there too. So he was impressive.
And you see him blocking on film. You'll see like, okay, this guy can hold his own inside. I think he's going to be another underrated prospect. This is a really good tight end class, and we'll put that tight end rankings video out soon. But this is a really good deep tight end class, and his teammate Tanner Thaxton also ran well for an offensive tackle. So Penn has some talent down there in the Ivy League. Now moving on to the defense side of the football, I thought a guy like Don Cherry did a really good job in the position drills. He didn't run as fast of a 40 as he would like, but when you put on the film and you watch him in those position drills, he plays way faster than what he times on the stopwatch, and he's a guy that can play the run as well as excel in pass coverage. Now, who stood out to you the most?
Yeah, well, defensively, a guy I came in looking for was Joey Pham. I got to check him out a little bit at the end here. He tracked the football really well. He moves well. Nice click and close ability. I'm curious. I want to see the East Stroudsburg game against a passing offense like that with Matt Soltes. So I think he really impressed me. He was the guy that stood out.
There's a bunch of guys on this list that are at positions where it's going to force us to go back to the tape, check these guys out, see how well they perform in games. And that's the beauty about what we do here, is the fact that we're able to go back and take a look at these small school guys, because we know technically they called Louisiana Lafayette a small school. Division II FCS program you went to, Delaware State and Cheney, small school, they'll say, but we know there's a ton of talent at those schools, and even places like Temple. Earlier today, just watching these guys get out here and work, and you got 3 legit day 1 and day 2 prospects coming out this program. So there's college football talent across the board, no matter where you go. If you're a high school student watching this, it doesn't matter where you play, just go out there and perform, and you'll be here at a pro day. And guys like us will have to go back and check you out because you went out there and did what you had to do to make us go back to check out the tape. So for Tavon Davenport, I'm Emory Hunt. This was a Football Game Plan production at the 2016 Temple Owls Pro Day. For more of our draft coverage, visit our website at footballgameplan.com/draft.